Welcome to episode 4 of the STB podcast. My guest today is a former NFL wide receiver. He led the league in receptions in 2013. He is originally from West Palm Beach, Florida. He is a proud Haitian. He went to Mount Union Academy and he was a 6th-round draft pick of the Indianapolis Colts. In this episode, Pierre and I discuss his upbringing in West Palm Beach, Florida, his late start in playing organized football, his Haitian background and what makes Haiti so special to him, what it was like to play with Peyton Manning, and how a very simple philosophy with money has led to success during and after his playing career. This is an episode you're not going to want to miss. Please welcome my guest for episode 4, the great Pierre Garcon. Secure the Bag content is intended for collegiate athletes. Secure the Bag does not provide financial services, financial planning, investment, tax, legal, or sports agent advice or services. Hey Pierre, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing well. How you doing, man?
Great, man. Great. It's great. I'm glad to have you on. And I've been a fan of yours for a long time. We're both of Haitian descent, and that's one thing I loved about you in the league is you rep that Haitian descent proudly. So I've always been a big fan and had met you once before when you were with the Redskins. So I really appreciate you being on. And yeah, really the purpose of the podcast is, we want to talk about and highlight guys' careers, their lives, their backstory, some of the stuff that we don't talk about, right? Their financial journeys. Mm-hmm. And really, I guess for me, a lot of people know who you are. You're very visible. You were visible on the field. You had a great career on the field. You did a lot of stuff off the field. You're known for your charitable work with Haiti. But where did it all start for you? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and what was that like?
Well, I grew up in Palm Beach County. I grew up in Belgrade, where it's I guess a suburb, a low, I guess, developing city where, they would call it the hood, but it's not necessarily the hood. But yes, there's more Black people that live there than, white people. And there's a lot of Spanish, a lot of international people that, live in Section 8. And, it was just where I grew up at. Didn't think about it, didn't overthink about it, and just, it was the world that I was put into. And then I moved to West Palm Beach when I was in middle school. Then I saw a different world. I was like, oh, wow, this is, more developed. But at the age, I didn't know what developed meant. I just knew, there's more people here. But I always missed Belgrade because that's, when you grow up, you don't know, if you're poor or not, you just happy, and then, I grew up I went to high school, then traveled, I went to college and traveled. Then I was like, wow, this is a big country. These people are, the thing that always made me compare my home to different places was the beach. We live close to the beach, but we don't go to the beach. And then there's people that, when you go to college, you go to different places, they've never seen a beach before in their life. And you're like, you've never seen a beach before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's where I'm from. So I thought everybody saw the beach, And then I go up there to college and I'd never seen snow before. And they're like, you never seen snow before? I was like, no, I've never seen snow before. So I was always open to different stuff because I was like, holy snap, there's a lot of different stuff, a lot of different people. So, and I was always helping people to, experience stuff they couldn't experience on their own, or to see things that they couldn't see on their own, or just to give them a different point of view. Yeah. So that's how my background, we were forced into America and we just had to keep growing outwards, helping people. Yeah. And that's why I enjoy doing. That's what Haiti is all about. That's what Mom's all about, my family about, because if we help each other, we can get further. So that's why I always did charity work, because it teaches me something and I'm helping. Yeah. So that's really my background. And, obviously working hard and doing what you love, staying dedicated to stuff is, that's what's ingrained in us, because we came from Haiti and we had to work. We were just happy to be in Haiti. So Mom was like, hey, we gotta sell this to pay the bills, to pay the water bills, to do this, that. It was all right, this is what we gotta do. There's no question, there's no way around it. But that was how, I always stayed involved with charity, stayed involved with dedication on, what I love, my job, and staying focused on it, because we're just happy to be able to see more and more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about growing up, so it was you, your mom, and
I have 3 older sisters. My dad passed away a long time ago, but my sisters were like my mom. My mom worked. I was going to school, playing sports, being a little boy, you know, being bad, just floating through life.
What was the difference when you said you guys moved in middle school, and what was that like? What led to that move, and how was that adjustment period?
It was just, you know, when the neighborhood gets too bad, or, you know, you're stuck. Some people don't realize they're stuck, but mom was like, hey, all right, this is not good for us no more. We're in a bad neighborhood. But she has 3 daughters, so like you got to protect your daughters. Mm-hmm. And we decided to move to a safer community. Yeah, and we're like, all right, you know, this is nice. You know, this is nicer than where we were at. Okay, this is cool. There's cool people outside. There's kids outside. If you all play sports, we're all gonna be friends. You know, and that was what made me move from Belgrade to West Palm Beach. It was like, hey, this is safer.
Yeah. And what was that? Do you remember? So you get out there and you can notice it's a little nicer, et cetera. But what was the transition like for you just at that age? That's a tough age to move. When I was young, we traveled a lot because we go to Haiti. We go to different parts of the country because there's migration of work. And my parents, my mom, my uncle, like family was in the migrant workers. Okay. So kind of traveling was normal to me. Meeting new people was kind of normal to me because, you know, we always had to meet people. And then I've always hung around my uncle, and they are always, you know, older men around. So you're like, all right, hey, just, you know, introduce yourself. And then, you know, you're going from there. So it wasn't really hard for me. Obviously do miss, you know, obviously the kids in the neighborhood, but I was like, okay, this neighborhood has actually more kids. Yeah. so we're all just gonna play football and basketball and baseball and whatever sports, you know, is the time of the year. So it wasn't easier. It wasn't easier, but it was easy for me because I've had the traveling, you know, and meeting new people instilled in me. Awesome. So talk about that. So you guys used to go back and forth to Haiti a lot?
Yeah. Like, as you know, Haitian parents are not gonna forget Haiti and not, you know, they're gonna find a way to go. Well, my family always found a way to go back, but we always had a lot of family in Haiti too. So it was like a lot of uncles and aunties and cousins because we have a big family. So we went back a lot.
Yeah. What part is your family from?
Port-au-Prince and Léogâne. Mostly Léogâne is like the suburbs. I'm sure you probably know, but it's mostly the suburbs by the ocean and just, you know, just a village, a lot of kids and a lot of family.
My family's my side's from Cap Haitian.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Cap Haitian. That's where my dad grew up. So talk about your, you know, growing up in West Palm, how did you get into sports and football? Did you play other sports? I know my dad, it was soccer. Soccer was everything being from Haiti. Did not get my love of football, didn't get the obsession. How did you get into, did you play a bunch of sports?
And that's the cool thing where we grew up in Belgrade. There was a team called Glade Central Raiders. Yeah. And I'm sure you heard of them because they were the best team in the city. And, you know, football, it affects everybody in the city. And, you know, in Florida, everybody plays football first. Yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm fast. I'll figure it out. I can catch. It was just happy to play. So it was what we did in the church is what we did after school. It was literally before school. It was literally as much time as we can, we played some kind of sport. If it wasn't football, it was basketball. If it wasn't basketball, it was kickball. It wasn't soccer back then, it was kickball. So we played kickball. Sports was just what took up 90% of my time when I wasn't at home or in school. Yeah. And it was unorganized sports. It was just, hey, we're outside. And when I moved to West Palm Beach, we did organized sports where it was travel soccer, travel basketball, travel football. Football was expensive and it was at a certain time of the year, so I couldn't pay for it and I couldn't play. But travel soccer was free and it was year round. I was like, all right, I'll just do travel soccer. And I just kept excelling at anything I did and just kept doing it. I played soccer through high school. I played football, didn't have the grades in high school. That's why I learned that you have to do, schoolwork to play on a sports team. And so I was like, okay, I do want to play sports. So let me do what it takes to play sports. I didn't too much care about school because school just was, I couldn't sit still. I couldn't, this pandemic has stopped my growth because Zoom, everything's over Zoom now and I can't learn through Zoom. I can learn in person physically. Yeah. So that's how I was growing up. I was like, all right, so if I have to do good in school to play sports, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And just kept doing it. And I played high school football junior and senior year because I couldn't qualify my freshman and sophomore year because of the grades.
So you didn't qualify. You didn't play football. You didn't play high school football till your junior or senior year.
But I always played football. I was always a football player. I just didn't have the grades. I didn't you go over the summer, your grades don't transfer, your GPA. It was like, oh, all this math things from last year. Okay, get your grades up and then you'll be eligible. I'm like, okay, that's what I'll just do, and it just kept getting better. And then in college, I learned like, hey, these grades follow you, so you can't go to the NFL without having good grades. I was like, oh, all right, let me just start studying because I know I want to go to the NFL. Like, I'm going to get there. I just need to know what to do to get there. And that's how, football came. But I always knew I wanted to be a football player because Play Central Raiders inspired me.
You knew even if you weren't playing organized, you knew, hey, football is the path that.
Well, I knew sports was like professional sports. I wanted to play professional soccer, but down in South Florida, professional soccer is not as popular.
Yeah.
Football is everything. And I was like, all right. Football. I love football even more than soccer because, I like running, hitting, and lifting and doing all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I'm going to go pro at something. I don't know what it's going to be, but whatever I decide it's going to be, I'm going to do it.
And your mom was supportive of the football and what you wanted to do?
Well, yeah, it was like, as long as you're not in trouble, as long as you're not getting hurt, go do it. Enjoy it because, at some point, you're happy because I go home, go outside, come back in late and just go straight to sleep. And she likes it. Like, the whole family likes it. They're like, all right, you're staying out of trouble. You're using all your energy. And then, you're being a kid.
Yeah. So when you're in high school, in your junior year, when did you really start to see, hey, I could play this in college? And what was that recruiting process?
When I started getting recruited, it was like, oh, you think I'm good enough? I'm like, all right, I think I'm good enough too, because my high school team wasn't that good, which we had talent. We just wasn't organized enough, or we just wasn't consistent enough. And, you get overlooked because if you don't make it to the playoff, the colleges aren't recruiting. But they had D3 college fairs where other schools come down to South Florida to, just recruit players that, fell through the crack. And I was one of those. And those guys were like, hey, we want you to come up for a visit. And I was like, all right, a free flight to check out a college? Sure, why not? Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. How many schools did you visit?
I visited Norwich University, and, I ended up going there for my first year. It didn't transfer to Mount Union.
And where's what's it?
That was in Vermont. Norwich University is in Vermont, and that was like a military school. But I was like, they're like, hey, you don't have to be in the military. You just come up, go to school, get your grades, and play football and work out, and stay out of trouble, and just be a good model citizen. I was like, all right, sounds fair enough.
So your thought was, hey, so you wanted to play football. There were no real like Power 5 offers or big offers. You kind of fall through.
No chance.
This place calls and you say, go to Vermont. Was it even a second? Was it like?
Well, I was questioning, but I didn't have much question because there were other schools beating down my door like, hey, we want you. Like you get letters, but you have to follow up and, they're not recruiting you heavy. It's like, hey, do you want to come or not? And I'm like, I don't have no other schools and I can't stay here in West Palm Beach. Then, I just have to go, where I'm wanted. And then I'll work my way up somehow, some way.
So it was, so there was it was kind of like, I want to play and this is where I got to go to play. This is where I'm going to go. So tell me about that. Tell me what that transition was like from Florida to now
to Vermont. Like I said, I grew up traveling, so it wasn't crazy to me. I was always like enjoyed, seeing new places and doing different things, but it was just cold. But that helped keep me inside to do schoolwork. It was super cold outside. It helped keep me, undistracted. I wasn't distracted by any niggas. I knew nothing was going on because it was super cold outside. And, I worked out more. I studied more. I actually got better grades in college than I did in high school. I had more isolation time, but it was much needed because, I was like, all right, I can finally get this schoolwork done and get help for the schoolwork. And it all started becoming easier and easier because I can focus on it.
Yeah.
I have more time.
Yeah. And how was, we do a lot of work with collegiate athletes and football programs. What was life like financially for you at a right? You're not in Alabama or Florida. So you're at this school in Vermont. Do you remember what that was like trying to make it financially?
It's funny. I was always good with money because I helped my Haitian parents are entrepreneurs from day one, and their child is gonna help them regardless or not. But I always enjoy helping my mom. My mom was a business woman. They sell anything and everything. My uncle, my grandma, we were always, doing something, selling something, cooking, or, selling food that we made. So I always grew up with money in my hand. Cause my uncle always give me money. I have a lot of family members. They just, that's the job of an uncle, to give your nephew some money so he can feel good about himself, and take him money and show him how to work. Like, hey, this is how we do it. And like, this is what you get for working. So I always had that. But I didn't think about like loans and stuff like that. Like, that's a whole nother financial thing. I didn't know nothing about scholarships. I didn't know nothing about, grants and getting stuff. So I was like, all right, they're going to pay for this part. Just fill out this loan and then you can go to school here and get these scholarships. We're going to help you get these scholarships. We're going to help you get these grants. You just have to do what we ask you to do. And I'm like, okay, the schools, my mom only had to pay like $1,000, $2,000. Okay, like that works out. I can help out somehow, some way. But I never really needed to spend money to make myself feel better. So that was always just like, all right, cool, just save your money. Like, if you don't need it, don't spend it, because at some point you're gonna need it. That's what we always say. Hey, just save your money. At some point you're gonna need it, but don't be in a rush to spend it.
Yeah. So you kind of just had that instilled in you, so that kind of made it easier. You knew how to manage what you had. Mm-hmm. Didn't have that problem of trying to keep up with other people that so many people that trap fall into. So then you transferred to Mount Union. Mm. What was that experience like? Because that's kind of where we know you, and that's kind of where you get on that bigger stage. And tell me how did that work for you?
Mount Union was amazing because I was like, I contacted the coach. I was like, hey, I want to transfer here. Like, I heard if I go up to Division I, I have to sit out a year, and I don't want to sit out a year, because if I sit out a year in football, I know I'm not going to be, in the same position I was last year. So my union was like, all right, yeah. I sent them a tape. They replied, they emailed me back, and they started sending me applications. I was like, all right, cool. This is what I have to do. Now I know a little bit more, because it's the second go round of, applying for a school.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, what do you need from me? And just they were helping me. They're like, hey, this is the day. This is what you got to do. This is what you have to do. I did all of that, and I showed up on campus, and they were just very welcoming. Like, hey, this is Mount Union. This is the workouts. This is our show up date, and this is our conditioning test. Works for me. Why not? Yeah. Like, I'm here to play football. Conditioning test, that's not a problem. Filling out these paperwork and getting all this stuff, that might be harder, but I will get it done because I want to go here. This is Mount Union. They're winning before me, so they don't need me. I need them. I want to be here, so I'm going to do what it takes.
When you got there, was there any growing pains, or did you just hit the ground running?
Not hit the ground running, because, I sent them my highlight tape. I sent them, what I can do. And then I show up ready to do whatever that's needed to be done. So it was like, hey, we both on the same mission. Like, we're trying to win. You guys already been winning. I need to be on the team that's winning. And I'm going to be prepared that it's not my fault that we're not winning. I'm going to make sure that, listen, I'm ready to go. And that was always my mindset for any team, anytime. Like, hey, we're on the same page. We're going, and Mount Union just keeps winning. Like, they literally just keep winning. And sometimes it actually get frustrated, because in the first quarter we'll be up by 28 points, and we're like, all right, let the younger guys play. They're like, hey, I didn't get to do that yet. It was like, all right, just save it for next week, save it for the playoffs, because that's what we really need. It was like, all right, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and then you guys won 2 titles, right?
2 titles, played in 3 national titles, and won a national championship in track and field as well for 4x1.
Oh, awesome. So you had a great experience. So at what point when you were at Mount Union, I know you always thought you were going to go pro, but what point did you start to see the interest in like really going to?
It was after my junior year, where a scout came to our school for, like, they were just measuring the 40-yard dash. They're like, hey, we want to test you out, see, if you're qualified. It was a St. Louis Rams scout, whatever. Now he was like, hey, we want to see what you can do, and we're gonna come and test you in the 40 and all this other stuff. All right, cool. This is what I've been waiting on. Like, that's why I was running track, so that I can always be faster. So I was like, hey, like, I know I'm gonna have to run the 40-yard dash. If I'm gonna go to the combine, I gotta be fast. And I knew what I was up against. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, that's when it was like, we're watching you. I was like, all right, cool. And you still gotta play the senior season and do well, but there's some interest,
And did that change your approach? Like, when that starts to happen, did it change your approach, or or it just made you hungry? How did you view it once you realized, hey, this is really
it doesn't change your approach because I already knew where I wanted to go, but it does add a little bit more stress or work ethic to it, because you're like, hey, now I have to perform, instead of I'm already performing. Now every game is like, all right, you're either getting 100 yards or you're not. And as a D3 player, you got to get 100 yards and you got to, show up at anything that they tell you that they want. And you're like, all right, hey, throw me the ball. Even though we're up by 25, 35 points, we're like, throw me the ball. But we all understand football. Like, hey, if you're good, you're going to be seen. You're going to be seen. Somebody's going to be like, oh, this guy has something, that's when you just watch the game. You're like, this guy runs different. This guy is faster. He's so big or something. So, that's what kind of keep it even keel. But, when you do see scouts at your game and they're talking to the head coaches and they're talking to your position coach, you're like, oh, snap. Okay. All right. Well, we got to put 100.
So let me ask you, did it take any of the enjoyment after that away? Even in a small way, just from the fact that
it didn't take enjoyment away. It was like, dang, the results weren't as good as I wanted it to be, but I still did, we still won. I still played well. I didn't get hurt. It was like, all right, it could be worse, instead of, hey, I didn't get 4 catches, 100 yards. That was always the thing. 3 catches, 100 yards, 4 catches, 100 yards. So you can average 25 yards a catch, and so that 1 touchdown or 2 to take it to the house. But it was like, it could be, okay, 1 catch, 10 yards, So it didn't take away the love from it, but we were also winning. So that helped not take away the love. If we were losing and I'm not getting my yards, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is tough. I'm definitely not making it to the NFL now.
So after year, when you're getting ready for the draft, what was your thought? You end up going, in the 6th round. What were you hearing? What was your thought like with that?
Man, nobody knew. It was like, hey, you can go in the 5th round or you can go undrafted. You can go in the 4th round, you can go undrafted. Nobody knows. And that's just where you're like, all right, I've done all the work. If I get a call, I get a call and be happy. If I don't get a call, I'm still going to get a free agency tryout. So, it's still like football is still going to go on. Like life is still going to go on. I'm in an opportunity where I know a lot of my teammates in college would want to be in. So it's not that bad if you don't get drafted. At least you got an opportunity. At least you went to the combine. It's like, all right, you made enough noise, but if it doesn't happen, you still got to be able to play football in August.
Yeah, that's a great mentality. So when you get to the league, and then what was your first contract? Do you remember exactly what it was? And then
I was thinking whatever they gave me. It was like 4 years and $1 million. I was just happy to get drafted and get a paycheck to buy a car, to move into somewhere that, it was like, oh man, this is finally working. Like my first signing bonus was like $70,000. I was like, all right, I'm taking it.
What did you do with your first paycheck? I was asked.
I had to buy a car because I never had a car before. So I had to get a car so I can go to practice.
What was your first car? What car did you buy?
Cadillac CTS.
Okay.
Cadillac CTS. And I still have that car too. It's my first car ever, not letting it go.
Oh, you still got it?
Still got it.
That's awesome. So what was that like, going from never having a car to now I'm in the league? And how did when you got that money, how did you feel? What was that process like?
It's crazy because it was cool, but I wasn't in the moment. I was more in the future. Like, all right, now we got to prepare for special teams. Now we got to, make the team. Like now we got to, cause you still can get a signing bonus and not make the team.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, I thought I was good for 11, 12, 16 games. No, it doesn't work like that because you still have to make the team. You still have to perform. And they were telling me that, and I was like, all right, yeah, you're right. Like, you can get cut every day, and then guys are getting cut every day. You're like, what happened to him? Such and such got hurt, so they needed extra of this. And it was like, okay, so you have to be valuable. So that was the mindset, like, hey, save your money, but be valuable. Okay. Be ready to learn. Be willing to learn. Like, it goes hand in hand where you can stay around a lot longer. The more you can do, the better. That's what they always say. The more you can do, especially on special teams, especially on offense, especially however, the better. No problems, no distractions. Just play football, save your money.
So you bought into the concept of I'm going to try to make myself valuable any way that I can.
Yeah, and as a football player, we all know that. Like, hey, the receiver, your DB made the tackle on the running back. If he didn't make the tackle on the running back, that would have sprung the running back for a 70-yard play, and that was your guy. That was your assignment. Oh, okay. Let me not make that happen again. So you want to always add value for your assignment, and that was what they taught me when I went to Indy, when I played at Mount Union, when I played at at Norwich. Like, it's like, hey, all right, but it just kept carrying over to the higher level. The game didn't change. It just carried over.
So you kept building on what you'd previously learned. So tell me, you're from Belgrade. You don't play, formal high school football till junior, senior year. You go to school in Vermont, then Mount Union, and now your quarterback is Peyton Manning.
Right.
What was that experience like in totality? But just especially early on, were you awestruck? What was that like? What was it like?
Yeah, it was crazy because you're like, yeah, this is Peyton, and you're like, all right, hey Peyton, like what's next? Like, what do we do? I know him, he knows me, but I'm not sure he knows me. But I'm like, hey, I play receiver, and what do you need? Because we're teammates now. But it was like, all right, let me help you, however, because I want you to throw me the ball. Yeah. So what needs to be done so that I catch the ball.
What did you kind of learn from him? I'm sure, we all know about his preparation and things like that. What was that experience like, seeing him prepare, and how do you think that made you kind of just a better overall player?
Nah, it was great because the whole organization was like that. It was like, be a professional, be prepared, be on time. It was like, hey, you're a professional. You always be professional, which means be prepared for anything and everything, which is your job. So it was like, hey, prepare, because this is what we're going to do. It might not come up right now, but be prepared for it because it's gonna come. And when it comes, we need you to be ready for it. We need you to be on top of it because it's gonna come, and it can be the difference of winning and losing. And I was like, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So you had to study, in which I realized, like, hey, if you can take out all the distractions and study on your assignment, it becomes easier.
Yeah. We've heard tons of stories. Peyton Manning stories. Do you have any great playing stories or practice stories?
Man, there's so many stories. Peyton's a great storyteller. There's a lot of stories, but he works hard. He enjoys it. He's hard on players, but he also rewards you, and it's also rewarding because he's on the same page. And he's all about winning. It makes perfect sense. It's all about winning. But Peyton's a great guy. He helps out his teammates a lot. He's very, very good to his teammates and friends.
Okay, awesome. So from a financial standpoint, you're a 6th-round pick, right? You're by NFL standards, meager income first. When did you kind of going into, you got your second deal, maybe 2012-ish?
Yeah.
What was that feeling like when you've established yourself and now you actually get life-changing money?
It was actually cool. The funny thing about when you get life-changing money, they take life-changing taxes out of there. And you're like, oh my God. And then I moved to a city where the cost of living was more expensive. So I'm like, okay, but I'm also
DC, Northern Virginia area, right?
Yeah, it was very expensive, but I was like, they're like, you can't complain because you're making more than everybody else. So it's like, nobody's gonna feel sorry for you that you have to, pay more in rent. Yeah. I was like, okay, this is it. But I was always motivated to play football, so it didn't change how much money I made because on the field we know, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how we get to it. I had a bigger chip on my shoulder because, hey, now this team wants you. Now I have to give them what they wanted. That was my mindset. Hey, this team wants you. They're showing that they want you. So be ready and play for this team because they are supporting you. They're putting it all on you. And I'm like, all right, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I just kept playing hard, kept being prepared, staying professional, and just giving it my all, because that was the easy part on the field.
Sure. And then how did you manage from the financial perspective, with
I kept the same mindset, spend less.
I was going to ask you, what was your kind of spending or view on when you bought a home and family and managing some of those things financially?
The cost of living went up, but I was by myself. So I rented wherever I went because I didn't know how long I'd be in the city. So I just saved, my spending per month did go up, but it was just because of where I lived. And they always say, if you make more money, you're going to spend more money, which is very true. So, but I never went crazy on spending because I was never that type of person. I didn't really buy anything crazy or newer. I just saved because, they always tell you this is for a lifetime. It's not for the moment.
So you took that to heart. And how?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure family was super proud. Did you get anything particular for your mom? Was there anything that you were like, hey, I have to get my mom this, or siblings that?
The crazy thing about it, my mom never wanted nothing because she was kind of like me. She was like, just save your money and work hard because we're not poor. We're not rich, but we're not poor. So I don't need a new house, a bigger house, or a bigger car. And I don't need that. We're just happy to be, electricity's on and food's on the table and there's a roof. Those were the most important thing. But I kind of understood that too, because we come from somewhere there is no electricity running, there is no running water. Yeah. So you don't have to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was normal. It was all right, just save all your money and then make proper investments. Don't blow it. Yeah.
So there's that transition, and we've talked a little bit about this offline. Mm-hmm. Where, all right, getting the money is one thing, and then managing it's another. And then where did you develop your interest? Because a lot of guys we talk to, it's, all right, I get it, I need to save, but then it's, what are the things that you got involved in, and how did you feel comfortable taking that leap, getting involved in certain things with your money, or where to direct it, or, even some of you've done charitable work. How did you vet ideas out? How did you get into certain things?
I really took my time and figured out what I really wanted to do. I knew I had to do a business because you gotta, after playing football, I still like to see money coming in, because seeing no money come, only money going out is it's only a matter of time before, there's no money. Yeah. So I did a lot of research. I just was patient because I was all right, what do I really want to do after I'm done? Because you're gonna have to do something, But what am I really, really wanting? And I asked the people that did it. I was like, hey, how much does this cost? What is this? I asked them hey, how does this really work? And then they start telling you, all right, that sounds cool, or it doesn't sound cool. It sounds complicated, or it doesn't sound complicated. And I just kept asking myself, what do you really want to do? What would be exciting to go to? And then I got into commercial real estate. But I did other stuff before I got into commercial real estate. But, that's where I ended up finishing at.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to being curious, right? I think a lot of people feel like, they do something or let someone talk them into it. And one of the things I always talk about is being interested in what you end up spending your money on, or what you do, because if that interest isn't there, you're not going to follow through, or it's a better chance of not working out for you. So I think it's so important to be interested and actually have an interest in where you put your money. So you just asked different people and decided, hey, this makes sense to me. This is something that I think I can manage and do. And that, when did you start doing that?
Well, actually, when I got to DC, I did a restaurant, it was Spitfire Pizzas, fast casual pizza. I did that up in DC. And then while I was doing that, we did it for 3 or 4 years. And then I did commercial real estate because we had to rent out a place from the landlord.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you got a pizza spot and you started renting out the place, and then the light went off and you thought what?
Well, the business was tough. The business was fun. I enjoyed it, actually. It was good food. It was good. We had a lot of support, a lot of fans, but it was day-to-day work. It was literally everyday work, which And I was like, all right, cool, it's not a problem. But it was everyday work, which I was like, all right, I can work out every day. I can literally, run every day, bench press. I can do physical activities every day, but like serving pizza every day, oh man, like I was like, hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I can go play football every day, but I can't serve pizza every day.
Yeah.
And that just was me. I just didn't love it as much. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me figure out what I can do every day.
Yeah. And from, hey, this guy charges this much in rent. How do I become an owner?
Yeah.
not a renter, right? So what strikes me is you seem to have a lot of great habits and curious things that just seem to come naturally, right? Like you just have a natural intuition of, hey, I didn't like school, but they told me I had to do it to play football. So all of a sudden you know what I mean? Like it's interesting because a lot of times things seem easy and mentally people still can't do them. But it sounds like for you, you just took the logical next step in anything that you were doing.
Yeah, because I wanted to do it. Like you say, if you love something, you got to keep doing it. You got to find a way to get to it. And that's how I was. Like, I was like, all right, I love playing football. So like, hey, you want me to come ready for football? I'll come ready in condition and in shape. I'm going to do it regardless.
So in terms of football, and we athletes, we talk about the financial piece all the time. What were some of the things that you saw guys struggle with, or what's one of the craziest things you saw in a locker room where you're like, man, I don't know.
It's the locker room. There's so much stuff that goes on in the locker room. It's crazy because some guys just don't remember where to line up at. Some guys don't know the playbook. Some guys don't know at what weight they should be at. Some guys can't be on time. And you're like, why is that the hard part for? Like, you got one job.
Yeah.
Like obviously some guys can't learn, but you can, if you stop a lot of stuff, you can learn because you're focused on, one thing instead of 100 things.
Yeah.
Like guys are losing jobs because they're overweight. Guys are losing jobs because they don't know the playbook. Guys are losing jobs because they can't remember a rule. It's like, how important is it to you?
Yeah.
If it's that important to you, you'll figure it out. If it's not that important to you, you're like, all right, let me go find something else that's important to me.
So I would say, and you might not, if you had to quantify, it doesn't sound like that's a rare thing, right? How many guys would you say you saw had their career or time cut short, not for talent, but for the things that you're talking about, the intangibles where it's just...
Man, we hear it every day. Some player got in trouble by the local, police, or they got pulled over. It's something like that grows into something bigger. And that happens, we always meet with NFLPA, and they always give us these stats of like, hey, this is the position that gets into trouble the most. This is, what time frame of the day that you get in trouble the most. Like it's their stats. They show you the stats. Don't fall into those stats.
Right.
And you're like, okay, you guys been here before, so you kind of know what you're talking about. Okay, this looks fishy to me. I'm not gonna do it. This, it's kind of like that. Like, this is what I need to focus on. This is where I don't need to be at.
Yeah.
Cuts out a lot of things.
Yeah. So let me ask you, were you in terms of financially, that bleeds into financial life as well. What were some of the mistakes or things you saw guys do that just were kind of, for you, it comes naturally, but what were some of the pitfalls that you saw guys fall into?
Man, it's always the same kind of pitfall that, everyday humans fall into. They buy a new car, they buy a new house, or, they didn't do enough research on the value of something that, they're putting their money into. Basically, they've always in all the cities say, hey, stay away from, the girls, the spending too much money in the clubs and the bars and stuff like that. It's the same pitfalls that, everyday humans have, buying 3 or 4 cars, houses, or you get a free agent signing to a new city, or you get drafted to a new city and they buy a house, right? Then they get cut by a training camp and you're like, oh snap, he just bought a house. Like, but that's, that's, it's not just football players. That's just everyday humans. When you get a lot of money, you're like, hey, I got to spend it.
70% of lottery winners go broke, right? So
football players are lottery winners, some people say.
Yeah. And the athletes get a bad rap because the money part, but they're not doing anything different than the population, right? You give anybody that kind of money. And then talk about, and this is one of the things that is fascinating to me, because as I have learned and gotten in that world, understanding there's the challenge of you get all that money paid out over the season, right? So it's not just you're getting, so you're 21, 22, 23 years old, and then you're getting a couple $1 million paid out over a 4 or 5 month span, and then you're expected to manage it and budget it, and you can't really even spend it during the season. So talk a little bit about the challenges that poses, because I know people who have a hard time going from I get paid every 2 weeks to once a month, right? So imagine getting everything over 4 months, and then you've got a budget and you're 22 years old and you've never been around money, you never didn't come from money. So talk a little about the challenges that poses.
And that's the reality. That's the truth, because we get paid for 17 weeks. We get paid for these 17 weeks, and you there's 52 weeks in the year, and there's a lot of time where it's all red going out because none of that green is coming in. So you're like, holy snap! Like, I have to really learn how to manage it, because I'm not going to get paid until week 1 or week 2. Yeah. And it's like, holy snap, like it's like an anxiety. Some people can handle it, some people can't handle it. Yeah. And that was another thing. It was just discipline of like, all right, this is what you can and can't do. And you gotta stick to it. Like a lot of people have issues with that, because I didn't even like getting paid every 2 weeks. If I get paid once a week, I feel better. I walk around happier because, like we win a game, I get paid. Yes, I deserve it. We lose a game, I get paid. I'm like, all right, I still feel not as bad. But getting paid every 2 weeks, you're like, oh, it is payday. Once a month, it's like, oh, it is, it is a payday. Like you kind of forget. So I don't never like not getting paid, but the once a month, once every 2 weeks, it is harder on people, and people tend to forget, but you just have to stay disciplined. Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think people don't really realize is 17 weeks you get paid, and you're trying to navigate that for a year. And if you don't have that, it forces you. I mean, you have to have good habits to manage that no matter who you are. But then if you don't have the habits and you make a lot of money, I mean, it is easy, and you've got family and friends and people in there, and then the other, like you said, the other part of it is you're out of season, and that's when the checks aren't coming in is when you're actually able to spend the money and taking vacations and doing all that stuff. So I know plenty of stories of guys who, by the time training camp comes back in, they need that check. Like
or some need a loan.
Yeah. So you've seen that?
I've seen it all. I've seen. I can't tell you all I've seen, but I've seen it all. I've seen a lot. 11 years, and you feel sorry for some people, and you're happy for some people, but it's human beings,
What you're saying is you've seen a guy like on a contract, by the time the season comes, he needed a loan to make it.
There's guys in the NFL that take home $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 too. There's guys that take home $100,000. You would think everybody's a millionaire. Not everybody's a millionaire. But, nobody's going to feel sorry for somebody that takes home $100,000.
Yeah.
Except for the guys that are making $10 million, $11 million a year. Those are the guys that are going to feel sorry for. But you're like, dude, reality is that you're still making a lot of money.
Yep.
And, you have to like, hey, that is true. But money happens. It's going to be money happens. Discipline is going to be discipline. Like, guys aren't making as much as we think, but they're still making more than, a normal person.
And they're in, to add to that dynamic, like you said, the locker room where you got guys who, there's not many places where you do a job and someone can make, now it's 600 grand, but someone else can maybe be making 20 grand, right? Mm-hmm. 600 grand in the normal outside world, right? That's top 1%, but in the NFL, that's.
Yeah. It's
right? So
you could lose that job tomorrow.
yeah. And then the struggle of trying to keep up with people and lifestyles and other people in the locker room, I'm sure gets guys in trouble.
And that's where a lot of guys, take the wrong turn. They try to keep up with everybody. It's like, you're not in that competition. You're in a different competition. You're in a football competition, not a money spending competition.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And then, so during your career, as you kind of develop this, you also, one of the things that I love about you is being proud and Haitian and representing that. I grew up in Philadelphia in the suburb, and my parents instilled, strong sense of pride in being Haitian and family seeing a lot of the things that you've done with, after the earthquake, talk about why that's so important and what Haiti and that lineage is like and what it means to you.
Well, I enjoy going to Haiti. I enjoy Haiti. Haiti is very, very beautiful. It changed, like going to and from Haiti will definitely change anybody's life. And that's how we grew up. Like at first we'd hate going to Haiti. Then we're like, we don't want to leave Haiti because, we were having so much fun. We're like, I don't want to go back to Miami now. Like, can they come with me? You just get immersed by everything that's there. And it's fun. It's beautiful. There's beaches, there's food, there's, amazing people. And you will naturally come back a different person when you visit Haiti or go to Haiti. So I know there's a lot of good people. I have family still there. There's a lot of good people in Haiti, just in bad situations. Oh. But, it's just like, hey, different parts of the country here is in bad situations. So, I enjoy going to help wherever, whenever that's, doing something positive, something good for the community, something that's helping people feel better, it's helping people grow, helping people, become smarter or wiser, to help themselves, because that's what we really want to do. We want to help everybody help themselves to feel better, to succeed, to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish, because everybody needs a little push, and I enjoy giving somebody a push.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm about, because I needed help at some point in Mount Union, Vermont, Norwich. They all helped me and pushed me. And, my mom pushed me, my uncle pushed me. This is just the way I seen it. I was like, all right, you're helping me because I'm going to do what I want, but you're helping me move in the right direction. That's what I needed. And that's what I want to give back, because Haiti has a lot of potential. We just got to support it. We got to push it. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it is people. It is the people are prideful, smart. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first Black Republic, and there's a lot of reasons politically that we could do another podcast about why and how it is today.
I actually think they need a podcast, an American politics podcast for what's going on in Haiti, because we as the younger generation of Haitians don't necessarily understand politics. We hear it, but we don't necessarily understand it. So like this generation is what they call it, Gen Z. If they start understanding this new politics of what's going on with the first Black Republican country, things would change, because they are the future.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So my dad, he came over in the early 70s, and he's a chemical engineer. Came over, went to school in New York. My mom's from Barbados, so I'm based in Haitian, and he was just politics, Haitian history. I mean, I remember being a kid and when they had the presidential election, and when Aristide was there in '94, and all that stuff my dad would have 2 TVs going and the Haitian radio. I mean, Haitian politics was everything. And as a kid, growing up, I look back now and I appreciated so much of that more than I did then, right? And my dad, I grew up in Philadelphia, and my friends go to the Jersey Shore. And I'm like, I want to go to the Jersey Shore. I don't want to go to Haiti. And then my dad's like, are you out of your mind? Like, I'm 7 years old now, and now I laugh. And I think about just that pride and things, that the identity that being Haitian was able to instill in me, that I carry with me to this day is great. And I love helping. I think that podcast we should talk more about that. I think that's a great idea, because people just see the devastation. They see they don't understand what's going on, and a lot of stuff's going on there now. Kind of with Haiti, are you involved in anything?
I help out. I'm actually promoted. We're doing a hike for Haiti. Helping this, or hope for it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Sure.
We're helping out with different organizations. I enjoy, like helping out. I'm not into politics at all. I'm not into political parties, but there's organizations, businesses that they're doing the right thing and want to receive support because they're actually putting in hard work. And you can reward people for putting in hard work. Go down to different resorts, go down to different hotels and stay there and just enjoy the amenities that they have, and support and give back to them, because that's what keeps their lights on, keeps things going. And different organizations that are have different missions that are doing positive especially for the youth and for the kids that especially outside of Port-au-Prince too, where there are still a lot more people that needs a lot of help.
Yeah. Also, what organization? What is Hike for Haiti?
Hope for Haiti. Hike for Haiti. They have a lot of kids that, as you know, well, you probably go back to Haiti, you can see people walking up these mountains and they're just, they got book bags or they got goodies or water or whatever. And kids hike up about, 2,300 feet or up a mountain or down a mountain to go to school a day. And they're like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And, we're putting ourselves in that shoes and helping raise money for that organization, which, helps out in the communities in Haiti.
Awesome. Last question. So we just talked a little bit about it, but what else are you doing now? Right. You had an awesome, incredible career. I guess I got two questions. First, when you look back at your career, what's the highlight for you? Or and that's tough to come up with one. So you can.
I got one.
All right, what's the highlight for you?
Well, it's tough to go on one, but the highlight is we played for the Colts my second year, and I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And, my family was there, everybody was there. It was the Super Bowl was in Miami. You can't ask for a better story. Yeah. My family was there. We didn't win the game, but I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And for 1 second or for 15 seconds, I was in the end zone in the Super Bowl. Yeah. It was amazing. It was a great feeling. And it was in Miami, which made it even better. And that was the year of the earthquake too. And it was wow.
That's right. Yeah.
It was wow.
That would have been. It would have been right after it happened.
It was, right out there. I remember when it happened. I remember where I was at. It was that year. It was that same year.
Yeah. So the Super Bowl would have been.
It happened in January. The Super Bowl is usually February, a couple of weeks, early, the first weekend of February is always
a couple of weeks later. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was and it was in Miami too. I grew up going down to Hard Rock Stadium, Joe Robbie Stadium, whatever they used to call it back then. And I'm in the Super Bowl. My mom's there, my family is there, and there's a touchdown. I scored a touchdown, and Peyton threw the ball.
What else could you ask for?
Right. I can't even be mad.
And talk about what are you doing now? What's your day to day? Right, you've set yourself up. You do the commercial real estate. I go golfing, I go bowling. I'm growing my compression brand. It's actually helping with the Hike for Haiti, where we're I'm producing a brand that helps healthcare workers with compression socks, and I wore compression socks when I played, and I needed them to play because we have injuries and all that stuff. But I'm growing that brand. And we're just working and pushing it, and just doing things that I love. I'm just trying to keep growing and just be happy, really saying the truth. Awesome. Love it, man. And where can people follow you?
Instagram, Pierre Garcon, Facebook, Pierre Garcon, all of my name is simple.
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you joining us. And I look forward to talking to you again soon, man. Thanks a lot.
Let me know. Anytime. Appreciate you.